Hello, welcome to this DVD called 3 Ways to Awaken Your Life. What I'd like to discuss with you for our first video, because it will follow 3 videos in a row, 10 minutes each, which cover the message of the 3 ways. The first one is this, that I'd like to emphasize, that we are human beings. We spend most of our energy emphasizing and focusing only on the human part. In fact, we spend most of our life, if not all our life, focusing on that one part alone, and then we wonder why we're not fulfilled and happy. We miss that the being part is the happiness. It is the fulfillment and meaning in life that we seek, but we think it's out there. So, listen to the following video, and hopefully that will make it a little clearer. Namaste.
Why is it? That's the being. The being is to lose yourself so completely that you become the thing you love. The mother goes through tremendous pain in giving birth to her child. But the pain is nothing when she holds the baby in her arms and sees what came out from her body. And she holds the baby in her arms, and at that moment, there's no pain, there's no discomfort, there's only the love of that child. You see? So in other words, what has happened is that she forgot herself in her focus. And at that moment, because of that love, there is pure being. That is the only point when we in the moment transcend the limitation of the human. But you might say, but how can you transcend the human? You don't. The being and the human being become integrated, they become one. You see? So the key question is here, how do you become one when you're depressed, when you're angry, things are going wrong? By always remember you're a being. This afternoon we were at Capers and having lunch, and I left my jacket with my wallet zipped up on a chair, and then as we got up ready to go out, I forgot the jacket, and I went to get it, and my wallet was stolen. So I have a lot of phone calls to do because I had my care card and my license and my bank card, and everything is gone now. So, but you see, the first thing I had to do in order to remain in my being is to forgive the person who stole it. You see? If I for a moment was angry at the person who took it, and they must have been very, very skillful, because they did it in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes to get my jacket back. The point I'm trying to make here is that in order for you to be in being, is to use every experience, whether it's dancing or whether it's something happening to you from someone outside you, okay, is to be totally in it and see the love in it. You might say, but how can you see love in theft? How can you see love? You can see love in everything. 1, because nothing happens by chance for some reason or other. And 2, the person who stole it, maybe they need it. They need the money that was in it. It wasn't a lot of money. And a third, I don't understand it fully, and it's okay. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Okay. So the point I'm trying to make is that no matter what the experience is, you can always go back to being. Always. There's no excuse not to live it. So the people who say, I got it and I lost it, you see, they made it so intellectual. Oh, I got it because now I understand. But they're not strong enough to live it. And living it means allowing yourself to be the being you've always been. You see? And that means that the now is complete. Whether something is taken from you, if you're ill, even if you're terminally ill, it doesn't matter what is happening. The now is complete. The now can never be lost. And all you are, listen to this please, all you are is now. All you are. Did you hear that? Now we think we are just the body-mind. But the body-mind exists because of being. It is the being that is appearing through them. The reason you see and experience and know, who experiences it? Who is the experiencer? Who is it that experiences? I'm asking you.
The substance that's experienced.
That's right. The substance that experiences, which is being.
The spirit.
Spirit, being. That is the experiencer. See, not the human. The human does not experience. The human can only experience according to its past, what it thinks about it, what it has experienced from it. The now has nothing to do with the past. The now is free of the past. See? The present is contained within the now. Let me ask you something now. A question. What would you choose? Happiness or unhappiness? But be very, very real, very honest. What would you choose? Happiness or unhappiness?
Happiness.
Everybody would say happiness.
Neither.
Hmm?
Neither.
They're both the same. If you see them the same. If you see them the same, they're both the same. But if you choose one, if you choose happiness, then chances are you're going to be unhappy. I didn't mean to use a trick question here, but this is the way to begin to explore it. If you choose happiness over unhappiness, then you're going to fight unhappiness when you find it. But if unhappiness arises, and you say, well, that's what is. It's my interpretation and judgment of it. Because the being can never be unhappy. Did you know that? The being can never be unhappy. Why? Because it can never be happy either. Because it is happiness itself. Are you with me so far? It cannot feel fear nor emotional love. And therefore it is unconditional love. Because when we think of love, when we think of happiness, when we think of being, we think of something. This is the one thing that very few people ever get, unfortunately. And I'm emphasizing it here for those who said they got it, and there are quite a few when they listen to this audio or video, is that what you're getting is in your mind. There's nothing to get, and there's nothing to lose. There's only being. You see? And being is always in that blissful, contented state. Always, because its nature is nothing. You see, this nature is not this or that. It just is. If you ever found yourself in total silence, in total quiet, when your mind wasn't thinking, you felt good. You know, about 6 weeks ago, Peter said, he was listening to a talk, and he says, I felt a moment of joy. Just like the time that you received those CDs, you said. And he said, and when I felt that moment of joy, he says, but was that wisdom? I didn't feel any wisdom. Was that silence wisdom? That moment of joy that he experienced, was that wisdom?
So,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, because wisdom is a silence. See, at the moment that you experience joy, you have a moment when you just are. Okay? What happens in that moment? Can you hurt someone? Do you judge anyone? Can you be violent? Can you think a derogatory thought? Can you be offended? And that moment of joy? No. No. At that moment you are pure being. You see? That's all the wisdom that you need to know that you are this moment itself. I can talk like this for 2 hours, but I'm not saying anything. Are you understanding me? I'm not saying anything. I am saying that there's nothing to know, nowhere to go, nothing to achieve, nothing to accomplish, nothing to attain, but to see that this being that you are is complete. You see? It is your holy essence. It is your sacred self. And when you begin to feel that, when I say feel it, I don't mean emotional feeling. You begin to see that this is all that there is, truly. Then a peace comes to you. You haven't achieved peace. You haven't attained it. It is there. It is your true nature. You see? And no matter what happens, that peace can never be taken away. Once you recognize it, and how do you recognize it? By knowing that the human is a role you are playing. You are a being playing the human role.
Hello again. And now we go to the second video. The reason we keep missing the being is because we have focused so much on the human part of us that we think something is missing. We even believe that we're not worthy of the greatness that we really are. In fact, we even sabotage ourselves. So what is necessary at this point is to understand that we are more than just human, we are being. And the only way that we can integrate both is to accept our humanity, is to accept who we are. So listen to this next 10-minute video on how to accept yourself.
And it would be the trigger for the topic today, because it's a powerful one, and he's not the only one that actually questioned acceptance. And I'd like to go into it fully. Hi, Burt. When you say accept yourself as you are, I find it hard to accept. And then gets even more confusing when you say there's no one who accepts. Can you clarify? The word acceptance is not something that you say, well, I'm going to accept my faults and the way I am, and that's it. Because you see, if you say, I am a bad person, I'm going to accept it, then you aggravate the condition. We understand why, right? You are what you believe you are. And if you accept your weakness and see it as you, the weakness is you, well then you're not going to, encourage growth from that acceptance. Acceptance means this, that you see the inevitability of the situation because it has come about from a karmic principle. And we're going to see what that is in a moment. So actually, you accept the way you are because it's okay the way you are, because you're much more than that. And that is the whole point. If you think limited and you say, I'm going to accept my limitation and believe that this is who you are, then you keep encouraging that aspect. Remember the power of belief. But the acceptance means I can accept everything about me because I am so much more than that. You see? But let's understand what it is that is causing all the dysfunction, all the suffering, psychological pain and emotional suffering, but which are really one and the same thing. What causes all this? We'll make it very simple. It's called control. And when we begin to understand why we need this control, why it's so powerful and so unconscious, then we move deeply into the love nature. And hopefully that today this will be made much clearer. So, what is emotional suffering? It is control. Now, control starts from our childhood. Well, naturally, we're brought up in a certain amount of discipline through unawareness. And we're told what to do. But the first aspect of this is the fear of control. Now, the fear of control brings what is known as the victim mentality. The victim means that you believe everything. If a negative thought comes, to you it's reality. If somebody offends you, you believe it. Okay? You're a victim of what is happening to you in the world. So, and you become that victim. So this is fear of control. Fear of control also is this. You're so afraid of being controlled that if someone were to yell at you, you can suffer trauma. You can go into you become dysfunctional almost. You can go into a rage if you feel you're being controlled. So from the fear of control comes the need to be in control because you feel that you're going to lose control. Now, what is loss of control? I have seen so much loss of control as a hypnotherapist. Loss of control starts primarily as anxiety. On its higher aspect, fear of losing control is known as panic attack, nervous breakdown, going temporarily insane. Okay, so that's the fear of loss of control. So in order to deal with these two aspects, which is fear of being controlled and fear of losing control, we try to be in control. And because you try to be in control, you develop an addiction to control. And you find yourself controlling all the time without realizing you're doing it. You're doing it with your thoughts, you're doing it with your speech, you do it with your manner. You see, you don't even know you're doing it. And this starts to create problems because you don't even know you're doing it. Because there's always that fear. Fear of being controlled and fear of losing control. So you want to be in control all the time. You want to get your own way, you see? But the key question here, which is most important in this topic today, why do we need control? Why is it so important that it creates so much suffering? And it's prevalent. You see it everywhere. I've never seen a person that doesn't suffer unless they're spiritually awake. But why? Because the real control is love. Can you think of a power greater than love? There isn't any. So the real control is love. And you will find that all the time you want that love, but you do not know it consciously. From the moment we are born, we want love. In everything we do, we want love. We need love. So therefore, acceptance means this. I act the way I do because karmically I am acting and reacting from a karmic principle. You know what I'm karmic? Law of cause and effect. That if you're coming from control, you are creating a certain amount of dysfunction, right? But how does acceptance come in? To accept the fact that all you want is love. You see? So therefore, you are not the bad things you are doing and thinking. You see? You do not know that you are love. That's it. It's as simple as that. And because you don't know you are love, you're acting from wanting love, from needing love, from hungering for love, which comes into control. Okay, we understand the dynamic there. Okay, now, how does this come into being? Because the point today that I'd like to talk about really is effortlessness. The effortlessness of spirituality, the effortlessness of spirit, of you. This is who you are, totally effortless. And love is effortless. Because the only thing to screw up love is needing it. Do you understand? Which is, of course, codependent relationship there. So, but love you already are. All you have to do is take a deep breath and be. And you are love, period. Because you are that very awareness itself. You are that principle of truth. You don't gain anything, you don't overcome anything, you don't achieve anything, you don't control anything. You are that already. But because you don't know it, it comes out in that dysfunction, you see? And remember, dysfunction or the need for control is an addiction, you see, which is something very, very hard to face and look at. Because it's something you don't want to give up. But you can start by accepting the fact that you are addicted. And all you ever want is love. And at the same time, knowing that your nature is that love. You see? And that becomes total 100% acceptance. And it is through that acceptance that the real change starts. Now, the key question here is, how does change happen? It happens by us looking at what is at the moment. For example, we start out ordinarily, the average person, start out in survival instinct. We all start out in survival. Now, survival, some people, all they know is survival. Now, what I would think of is, for example, a person working for a living. They get up in the morning, they have a variety store. They sit behind the counter, and then at night they're still behind the counter. All day long they're making money. So they work for a living. You see what I mean? I don't mean work for a living. They're living to earn money. In other words, it's survival. You see? How much food we have on the table, how much shelter, and how much money is coming in. And they focus only on that. And do not be surprised because it's prevalent. You see? Now, there's nothing wrong with doing what they're doing. Can they help it? No. Because that's the stage that they're in. However, what if they were to look at their life and say, my goodness, I'm spending my whole life just surviving. Is this living? The moment you start to do that, you move into the second stage. The second stage is, I've got to be more. I've got to be more successful. I've got to make more money. Maybe an investment. Maybe if I become a success in this business. Maybe I want to take a profession. Now this is all kosher. This is great, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. But this is how it moves. This is how we begin to discover as we begin to question. You see? We start moving deeper into ourselves.
Hello again for the final video. You know, the being that we're talking about all the time is really the infinite being. We often refer to it as God, Allah, Yahweh, Christ, etc., etc. But in truth, it is who we really are. There's only one life, there's only oneness. And that is a most moving realization we can have. But it is the truth. And so first, we learn about happiness is our true nature. We learn to accept ourselves and finally find that the being that we are is the allness that we are. If you ask yourself right now, who am I? And you'll find that I am not my past. That is just what I own. I own my body. I own my past, but who am I right now? Is so vast. So we can call it who you are as existence itself. Okay, listen to the final video and listen very carefully because this is you. Thank you.
We're answering it, yes. The object has to appear to see the subject.
So when we die, does God die?
No. God cannot die because God never existed. God is existence itself. I'm not playing with words here. Mm-hmm. See, something that has no beginning or end does not exist. Mm-hmm. But therefore, because there is existence, it is existence itself. Mm-hmm. And existence itself is not existing as existing things, appears as existing things, but it itself is.
So is the isness good and bad?
Yes.
And everything else?
Yes. The isness is not bad. The badness is the interpretation that our mind makes. You see? But when we begin to see that bad and good are relative terms concocted by the mind, concocted by this idea, then we find that both become one. And it is that oneness which is God. So God is beyond good and bad. You see? And that ultimate thing which has no opposite. The Course in Miracles says, the opposite of love is fear, but that which is all-encompassing can have no opposite. You see? So God has no opposite. The space has no opposite. It just is. But it contains opposite, negative and positive, good and bad, is contained within that space. But it is not that space. So we can say that God is the space in which it contains good and bad, but it itself is not good and bad, just is. You see? And that isness itself, when fully experienced, is experienced as joy, love, happiness, freedom. But you might say, but aren't these things good? Aren't love, freedom, aren't these things good? I'm asking you.
Well, they're good to our ego, but they don't really have any significance.
Very good. They just are. You see?
Do they feel good?
When you say they feel good, again, no, this is good. You know, I love it, because when we explore like this is when everything starts to come out. Do they feel good? To whom? Because when you're free, you don't know you're free. When a child, 1-year-old child, is fully happy, joyous, full of energy, do you think the child knows, I am full of energy? No. It just is that energy. It just is that joy. You see? But that joy, there's no one to experience that joy. There's just the experience of joy. You're with me here? It is that space. So therefore God is not feeling good and joyous. God is joy. God is Satchitananda, bliss itself. But there's no one to experience that bliss. The moment you say, I'm experiencing bliss, you know, there was one time Robert Adams was said, you know, are there enlightened beings? And he said, if you know you're enlightened, then there's you're not enlightened. It's not possible, right? Because enlightenment means there's no you. He said one time there was a convention, and this convention was calling people who are enlightened to attend. So, and then what happens is those that attended were immediately disqualified. So this we go back to what Sheila said. It was beautiful. He says, when we're happy, are we really feeling happy? You see, we have to understand what that means. When you're happy, there's no you who's happy. There's just happiness being experienced. But there's no experiencer of that happiness. You're just happy. You see? Just like the child was playing ball against the wall. He was having a ball. He was really enjoying himself playing ball. And the mother said, are you having fun, dear? And he had to stop, and all fun stopped. Because I had to think about it. You see? The moment you think about it, whether you're having fun or not, the fun is gone. Because fun, happiness, peace, freedom, joy means there's no one there. Okay? This is the key. So that was so beautiful what you said, right? So there's no one feeling good. There's just goodness. Because if there's someone feeling good, it means there's an experiencer. And when you're really feeling good, there's no you saying, oh, I feel so good. You see? You're just being good. Just like making love and you reach orgasm. You see, at that moment of orgasm, which lasts a few seconds, there is no ego. Did you know that? There's no ego, there's no you, there's nothing. There's just incredible energy. You see, at that moment it's disappearing. You disappear in those few seconds. So this is why we have this incredible drive for that ultimate experience. The racer who turns a corner at over 200 miles an hour. Why does he race? Because he says, oh, when I'm racing, I'm not in my head. I'm just living high. Just like the guy who, skydiving. They free fall. They don't even open the parachute until they reach very close to the ground. And when they fall, they said, you've never experienced the incredible experience until you do it. Because at that moment, there's no ego. You see? There's just this incredible rush. You know? And that incredible rush is pure experience. There's no experiencer. You see? At that moment, there's just no ego at all there. So that's what makes it so dynamic, the now. You see, when we think of now, it is this space in which contains everything. Everything. It contains your guilt, your shame, your fear, your hate, your anger, and it contains everything. You see? And you put it all in that space. And it's okay. Everything is okay. Never make yourself feeling ashamed or guilt about how you're feeling. Because that carries. And what carries means it makes your ego get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then for a moment you can't even live with yourself. You hear that? You can't live with yourself. You created 2 and 3 and 4. That's why we have multiple personalities. because we keep complicating simplicity. See? Okay, so, oh, Sangeeta, these are you.